Welcome back to Men and the City. In today's video, we are going to talk about women. So the topic of today's video is just that. Let's talk about women. What I want all of you to do as a preliminary exercise before I begin this discussion is the following. I want you to grab a piece of paper, walk to a mirror in your bathroom, somewhere in your house, and I want you to write these 10 categories out. I want you to write down height, weight, face shape, V-taper, income level, personal charisma, life experience, and the average of the girls you've dated, social network, and living location. So if you didn't catch that, those categories are listed on the screen. Then what I want you to do is give yourself a score in each category from 1 to 10. Average that score, write the number down on the paper. Then I want you to take that piece of paper, rip it up, throw it out. Women, as we've discussed on this channel, are a test. Feminism is a collective test for masculinity. And tests, like anything else, are not easy. You have to do homework. You have to make preparation. You have to refine your knowledge or your skills to perform on that exam. So in a sense, women are a test of your strength, but they're not a test of your strength in the way that most men conceptualize them. Most men today, and I know that I'll get comments down below, will say that that test is solely about your appearance, your looks, your height, your genes, and what God has given you or not given you. And while there is truth in that, it is not a final judgment. It is not a conclusive account of who you are. Now, why is that? And why did I tell you to go through that exercise and rip it up? The reason is because what you need to do is you need to take that idea that you have, all of these various categories, discard them, and in their place, ask yourself one question, and that is, are you the man right now that you think you could be or that you aspire to be? And the answer for most of us, myself included, is no. Whatever we aspire to be, whatever man we want to become, is an idea. It's an idea, it's an abstraction that we must strive to achieve. And that is where our focus should be, not on the categories and the average score of those various categories that I went through before. That is, you might say, a superficial accounting of what we may be in some kind of online dating platform or in a vacuum. And that number, which is an aggregation of those superficial categories, is what so many men will focus on because they think that ultimately that algorithm, which does reflect female choice in an online forum, is how women select men. It is not how women select men in the real world. And this is the departure point of your thinking on this subject. Dealing with females is an interactive experience. It is not an online pairing. And so the first step for all of you should be to turn off or delete or cancel your online dating subscriptions. Because for the vast majority of men, myself included, wasting time on those sites is depressing, it's costly, and it's counterproductive. And don't take my word for it, there's countless studies that conclusively show that. The good news is that as soon as you step away from that shortcut, if you will, which is really not a shortcut at all, then all of a sudden the game changes. And so if it's not these various categories and superficial proxies of your genetic health or of your value as a phenotype, your physical attributes, your income level, etc., etc. What is it? Well, it's your self-belief, which is why I told you to ask yourself that question. Are you the man that you desire to be or that you aspire to be? And the answer fundamentally is that you never reach that goal. But if you're striving towards that goal, then you are in the process of becoming that idealized version of yourself. Now, there are many components of that complex, but fundamentally it rests on your self-belief. And as I've said before, self-belief is anti-fragile. So in the process of interacting with women, they are going to do two things. One is they're going to test your strength. In other words, you're going to get rejected a lot, again and again. And no matter how good looking you are, no matter how much money you have, no matter how much you have going for you, rejection is part of the experience, just as it is in life. And so online dating forfeits, short circuits that experience, and therefore never permits you, never facilitates a kind of growth necessary to really attract women. Now, if self-belief is crucial, and that will strengthen because it's anti-fragile, meaning that each rejection, one after another, after another, after another, strengthens you because it tells you that you've got to improve, and it points you in the right direction, if you will, and forces you to overcome the negativity that you experience. Remember, we all as men experience that. I don't care who you are. I don't care whether you're a celebrity or you're a famous artist or movie star, a sports athlete. It just doesn't matter. We all experience shortcomings. We all have flaws. And to some degree, when you are famous, when your social quotient, if you will, rises, you become even more scrutinized. Your sense of self-limitation may actually grow. It just depends, right? Everything is contextualized in that sense. So don't think that people at a certain level don't feel or experience the same insecurities that you do. In some cases, what they feel or the sense of limitations they experience is far beyond anything that you can even imagine because they're in the public eye. They're scrutinized for everything they say and do, okay? But if it's our self-belief that is crucial, what is crucial for us when looking for a woman? Well, obviously there are preferences that you may have. There are values that are important. All those things matter. But in the courtship process, so that is to say when you actually approach females, and that's a subject that we'll go into in more detail in other videos, the key is to discern the emotional state of the woman that you're dealing with. And that takes practice, but it's her readiness, her willingness, her openness at any given time to you that ultimately is going to determine your success or failure. And see, now this is why self-belief is so important, because if your self-belief is strong, then her emotional state is not going to knock you off course. Sure, you may feel bad in any given time, and you will. You're a human being. You're not a robot. You're not going to go from failure to failure or rejection to rejection without feeling pain and disappointment and self-limiting beliefs. You're going to go through that, and you simply have to overcome it. You have to keep going. You have to persist. You have to persevere, as we know. But in the process of doing so, you will become slowly but surely less responsive to the emotional state of the woman that you're dealing with. And that is powerful. And by the way, that applies to the world, right? No matter what happens in your life or how people react to you, whether they like you or they hate you, how you react to that is as important as how they react to you. And the same goes for a woman, because a woman, by virtue of her aesthetic and feminine power, just that alone is raw energy that is very disruptive. And so in the process of interacting with women again and again and again, and failing and getting rejected and saying the wrong thing or making the wrong move or misinterpreting, just like learning a language, you might say, you're going to make a clown of yourself. But you have to accept that and press ahead regardless. So again, this gets us back to self-belief. Self-belief is crucial. It's not your average of the various categories that I went through a moment ago. That ultimately is a distant second to the strength of your mentality, of your spiritual value, how you value yourself, in other words. That is what matters more than anything else. So when we talk about women, we're talking about your self-belief first and her emotional state second, and overcoming whatever that emotional state may be. We'll talk more about the process in depth in future videos. Stay tuned for more, and we'll talk soon.